How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap Zone video. My name is Savage Yeti, and for those of you who don't know me, I have my own YouTube channel where I do Marvel Snap stuff, deck techs, bundle breakdowns, all kinds of stuff. So go check me out over there if you like this video. But we are here to cover the Conquest tier list for the week of August. I guess it's August 11th right now. But essentially, this is to cover the first week of the Big in Japan season. Now, there's a lot that has changed since last week as far as the tier list is concerned. A lot of decks have dropped off, a lot of decks have come back, but as far as new decks and changes to these decks, there's not much. The first week of the season is generally a lot of experimentation. People are trying things out, people are trying decks out that they want to try out in the ladder and proving grounds, and so the meta is not solved at this point in the season. There's going to be a lot of movement, and I'm going to skim over a lot of these decks because you've seen them before. I've showed them to you before. A lot of them were in my ladder tier list video that came out on Monday. Some of them were in last week's Conquest video, and there's a couple key changes and a new deck specifically that I want to cover, so I'll go over that with you guys. It's going to be a quick one today. Let's go through the list. At tier 1, we have Move Legion, which is a new deck coming. This is the deck that I want to show you guys. It's been pretty successful. It has the new SpiderMan in there. Again, I'll go over it in a second. Followed by Dakin Control. You've seen this deck, it's been everywhere. Their Control. Shuri came up from tier 3 last week and is now tier 1. I don't think it belongs at tier 1. I think it's too one-dimensional of a deck, but currently has a pretty high win rate, and so here it sits. I think it's going to end up going back down. If you haven't tried it, maybe now is a good time while people are experimenting. And then we have Thanos Death, followed by Pure Evo. Both of those, again, you've seen before. Thanos Death, I don't even think was on the tier list of the ladder tier list that I did on Monday, but it's been a pretty solid deck. I think more people are playing it because of Dakin. I'm probably going to alternate between each one, so if that bothers you, then you're going to have to deal with that one. Again, followed by Pure Evo, and then discard Dracula. Again, I think people are experimenting because of the new card, Dakin. And then Evolve Lockjaw. That's been part of the tier list for a while now. I think it was on last week. It hasn't been tier 1 or anything, but it has always been a solid deck, still solid. Followed by the Infinite She-Hulk list. I've been playing this one. This has been the deck that I've been messing around with in Conquest. I've been pretty successful. I think this one runs Kang. We'll get to the list in a minute. I'm just going to skim through. All the tier 3 decks are just a deck list. There's no real breakdown, so I'll just show them to you very quickly. Silver Surfer, Surfer on reveal, Negative Surfer. Let's go through the decks. Let's talk about Move Legion. This deck is a new deck that has come up because of the new Spider-Man specifically. Spider-Man has contributed to the move package being pretty good. The ability for Spider-Man to move one of your opponent's cards and itself to a lane makes Kraven very good. Silk has the ability to keep buffing Kraven. Again, you have Jeff, you have Miles Morales, all move synergy cards, and it also contains a reactive card in the form of Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi in this meta is really effective. However, if this deck keeps running the meta, Shang-Chi might fade out slightly. I will say though, I don't think I covered a second ago, the good cards deck that we have been seeing week after week is not on this tier list. It's just not on there. Didn't make it. It was tier 1, number 1 slot. It has been running the meta for a while, and it's just not doing well. I think the Move Legion deck has been pretty effective against it. I was playing good cards earlier today and yesterday, and I kept running into this Move Legion deck, and I just kept losing. So I think as of now, the good cards Darkhawk deck has fallen off. I don't think it's like not a good deck or anything. I think people have just shifted away from it temporarily. Again, people are experimenting. They're trying new stuff, and at least in my experience, this Move Legion deck has been pretty effective against it. And so back to this deck, it's very strong. I think it can have some changes. I think Hulkbuster can be changed to maybe add another reactive card in here, possibly like an Enchantress or something, maybe a Rogue. I think there's just changes that can be made to this deck to make it better, but as it stands right now in the early stages, it's pretty effective in this form. I think you should give it a try and swap out some cards, experiment with it while it's still early in the season, while you still can. And the next deck, Dakin Control. This list is a little bit different. Instead of running Enchantress like it was last week, this list is running Rogue. But overall, it's the same general idea. There is a second list that has been going around for Sarah Control that includes Dakin, whatever. And it has a destroy package in there. And this one looks a little bit more interesting to me, mainly because it's new. I don't know how good it is, but I'm going to give it a shot actually after this video. Obviously it has a destroy package in there with Killmonger and Carnage, and then with Dakin trying to get the shard, trying to destroy it, trying to double its power. Is it good? I'm not sure yet. Is it good? I'm not 100% convinced. I think that Dakin is better in a discard shell than a destroy shell. However, with this deck, after you play Sarah on turn 5 and you're dumping a bunch of stuff on turn 6, the shard will get an extra buff on Bishop. You can dump a lot of cards, including the shard, get Carnage buffed up, get Killmonger to kill the shard and the other 1-drops. So it is promising. It obviously it includes Nova as well. It is promising, and I do want to give it a shot. I want to try it out, and if it's here next week, I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. But for now, I'm not 100% convinced that Dakin fits well in a destroy shell. Next up is Shuri Sauron. This is the exact same list as, I don't even think we talked about it last week. I think we talked about it in the ladder tier list, but it's a Shuri Sauron list. There's no real big changes here. Vision is included instead of Captain Marvel. Because of Captain Marvel's buff to a 4 cost, Vision is more of a big card now. Vision also got buffed to an 8 power. So the Shuri into a Vision on turn 5 is actually pretty good, and the ability to move him around gives you some extra flexibility. Currently, this deck is sitting at tier 1, but I do not think it's a tier 1 deck. I think it's very strong, but it's a very linear deck with no real reactive pieces. And I think decks that are constructed like that have a bit of trouble in the meta. So play it while you can. I don't think it's going to be this high on the list for very long. Next up is Pure Evolutionary. I'm not going to talk about this one too long. I just want to go over some of the changes that have shifted from specifically the meta tier list. There was a Pure Evo deck that was on there. There are some changes. 1, to shift it so it's a little bit better for Conquest. But 2, I think that this list is just better than that previous list. Specifically with the change to the Thing, it affects more of the enemy cards with -1 power. So Abomination is easier to get out for free. The Conquest list runs Armor and Rogue to give you some reactive cards to what your opponent is doing. I like the lists that run Luke Cage instead of maybe Armor, and that's mostly because I've run into a high evolutionary, this pure high evo list multiple times in Conquest, and just having the Luke Cage for the mirror matchup is just much better than not. Armor is really good to protect that Abomination, to protect that She-Hulk, and to protect the Hulk. However, I think you're generally playing Abomination on turn 6, same with the Hulk. And if you're playing it correctly, you can kind of avoid the destroy the Shang-Chi. Obviously, the 1+ side of Armor is you can use it to protect the Sunspot from Killmonger. But I was just having more luck with the Luke Cage version. You can also attempt to put in Luke Cage for Rogue instead. But again, I liked Rogue's versatility and how you're able to interact with your opponent's ongoing cards. So play around with the list. Armor and Rogue are your swappable tech cards here. And Luke Cage is a pretty popular swap in. Next up is Discard Dracula. I don't think this deck is a unbelievably good deck or anything. Again, I think this is a case of people experimenting with Dakin. However, Dakin fits pretty well into this shell. I think he brings this deck just a little bit to the next level. Not super competitive. However, I will say with the good cards deck not being around so much and Darkhawk not being around so much, less people are playing Enchantress, and I think that's why this deck has been finding success. Because less people are playing Enchantress, your Morbius can't be turned off. Not many cards here can get hit by the Shang-Chi. Your Apocalypse can. If you drop America Chavez, it can. But generally, your cards are pretty safe, and Dakin coming in most of the time at 8 power. It's a good deck, and it's a good time to try this deck. Again, I don't think it's a top tier deck, but as of now, people are experimenting with it, and it is performing pretty solid. And as for the tier 3 decks, I'm just going to skim through them. We have Evolved Lockjaw. Nothing has changed here. Pretty much the same list. We have the Infinite She-Hulk list. This is what I've been running. I've been running Kang instead of Leech, and that's been pretty successful for me in Conquest. Be able to see when your opponent is going to turn off the magic. the limbo lane and play their Legion, or just understand where your opponent is trying to play. Kang has actually been really useful and has won me a bunch of games so far. I have not tried this Leech list. I'm going to swap it in and see what I think and give it a shot. If this deck is still around, if it is still top tier next week, I will update you guys on which list I like better. But as of now, I have really been loving Kang. It could be because I haven't really played much of Kang, and I finally found a spot where I'm happy that he's in my deck. I'm happy when I draw him. So again, we'll see. Next up, Sarah Surfer. SpiderMan has proven to be a pretty good, I say good. He's become a highly used card at the moment. Again, it's too early to tell if it's due to experimentation or because he is good, but he is in the #1 deck, that move deck, and he's showing up here again in the Silver Surfer shell. I haven't experimented with him much, but people are trying these decks and he's working out so far. And then we have Surfer on reveal. It kind of has a discard package in there. I actually haven't seen this at all in Conquest. I don't know if it's good or not. It looks interesting. I do actually want to give it a shot. I'm going to import this into my Marvel Snap once I'm done filming this video. So Surfer on reveal with Dakin. Looks weird. Gonna try it. And then finally, to wrap it up, Negative Surfer. I feel like Negative Surfer has been at the end of the last couple lists that we've done. It's tier 3 right now. Not much to say about it. Give it a try if you want to. If you haven't played a negative list in a while, maybe now's the time to try it. So overall, I wouldn't put too much weight in the current list and where things land. I don't think this move Legion deck is going to be at the top for very long. I think right now it's just a surprise deck. People don't know how to play against it. The meta hasn't adjusted as a whole. I think Shuri Sauron is way too high on this list. There's a lot of Shang-Chi's. It handles that deck pretty well. Den seems to think that Silver Surfer is better than what is presenting on this list. I don't think so. I think it is doing pretty solid, but I don't think it should be much higher. I'm honestly not sure what deck is going to take the top spot right now, but I don't think this is going to be even remotely the same list as we're going to see next week. So if you'd like to see that list, make sure you subscribe to Marvel Snap Zone. Go check out my channel if you like this video, if you want to see more stuff from me. And as usual, if you love all things Marvel Snap, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you in the next one.